So AOC is doing something that a lot of politicians in Washington should be able to do. She is paying her staffers literally enough to survive. Now, look, the reason that she's doing that is because it is the right thing to do, of course. Now, how she's doing that is that lawmakers, they get a budget for operating and staffing their offices, right? So they can set their salaries accordingly. Now, last week, she announced that that jobs in her office would start at $52,000 a year. Now, that is a pretty good amount of money. Not so much in D.C., I can understand, because D.C. is super expensive to live, but it's much better than any other candidate or congressperson is paying their staff. Now, when she made that announcement, on Twitter, she said, "It's likely one of the highest level entry-level salaries on the Hill. We pinch pennies elsewhere, but it's worth every dime to pay a living wage." So now you would think that this is $15 an hour. No, it's actually $25 an hour, which, again, is fairly decent. Now, in order to do that, of course, she only had so much money. So she ended up having to reduce the salary of her of one of her higher level staffers. Now, she reduced it to about $80,000 instead of the usual $150,000 that they normally get paid. Again, I don't think that's a bad thing. But now we go to Fox News, who thinks it's absolutely terrible. And they did a segment on it. Let's watch.
Get a load of this, right? A tweet went out yesterday. She said leadership begins at home or whatever, however she put it. And she's basically announcing that she is going to redistribute the money appropriated to her congressional office to make sure that the entry-level staffers get a fair share of money. Now, let me show you the numbers here, right? She puts this out. She wants $52,000 for the entry-level staff salary for anyone in her office. Here's the problem. You've got to find a way to get money to pay the entry-level people, so she plans to take that from the chief of staff.
It's beautiful.
Senior staffers who would normally make $80,000 or normally make $154,000 for the chief of staff, probably only going to make about $80,000.
Every Capitol Hill office has a limited amount of money to pay their staff, right? So you have to decide how to allocate it. She said everyone in my office will pay a living wage. So I'm going to pay $15 an hour, which means your entry-level intern is making $52,000, while your chief of staff, who is a very important role in a congressional office, now is capped at $80,000. As opposed to the actual market rate at Capitol Hill, which is closer to $150,000. So everyone's between 52 and 80. It's actually socialism and communism on display.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with her moving the money around in her office, but let's not forget where that money comes from. They're not making that money in her office. They're not running a business where they're making a profit and money is coming in with revenue to pay for people's salaries. That money comes from taxpayers and is given to her office, and she can move it around. If it was market-based, maybe she could pay entry-level staffers $54,000 a year, given the market value of those positions in the private sector. But
she'd have to have
in
a
the
profit
government,
motive.
right, there would have to be a profit motive. There would have to be some business insight behind it. But let's not forget where that money's actually coming.
It's socialism, it's communism. Really? Paying your staff a decent wage and actually reducing the level of income disparity between the people who work in your office? Socialism, communism. You know, her chief of staff probably doesn't care that he or she is only going to make $80,000 a year. And you know what? There are people that think, hey, you know what? I'm okay with taking less if I make sure that people take more. That the people that work with me and work under me can actually be able to survive. Again, $52,000 a year is $25 an hour. $15 an hour, that's considered a living wage, is $31,200. They don't even know. They don't even know how to do math. They're sketchy math here. But of course, you can't really trust Pete Hegseth to do actual math. So, but nonetheless, right? Here's what you have is a complete misunderstanding of what communism and socialism actually is. Again, this is paying somebody a fair share, making sure that these people are able to survive in DC, right? Now, I have one more video here, and this is the normal standard attack. Whenever you try to do something nice and fair for your employees. Let's watch.
I'm told
They're not making that
members
money.
of Congress, she makes $174,000 as a congresswoman. She should probably redistribute some of that. Will you share some of that money, Ms. Congresswoman, with the rest of your staff who's not making as much?
Will you share some of your money? See, got you, libs. Why don't you just share your money? I don't know. Maybe she is. I don't know. But that's the continued attack, right? So we can't do anything to help our employees have a barely livable wage, right? In a city that is extremely expensive to live in. Can't do that because it's socialism, communism. Why don't you give them your money? And I love how they said, it's not like she earned that money. Oh, really? She won an election, and now she's doing her job as a legislator. I would say that she, yes, earns that money. And by the way, if you want to go on that attack, be my guest, right? So now you could go after Mitch McConnell. I could go say, well, why doesn't Mitch McConnell just give all his money to the staffers? It's not like he's earned it anyway. Why doesn't he just not take a paycheck at all? I mean, you know, you guys opened the door to that attack. It's fair. Why don't you criticize Mitch McConnell? Why don't you criticize Tom Tillis? Why don't you criticize anyone else on the Republican side? Marco Rubio. Why don't you criticize President Trump? Anyone who takes money from the government, you can go ahead and criticize him. I mean, look, I got the go-ahead from Fox News. Apparently, you didn't earn that money. They didn't earn that money at all. So, hey, whatever. Ridiculous, right? No, they're never going to do that. Now, AOC did respond to this, by the way. And she said, quote, the GOP is so disconnected from the basic idea that people should be paid enough to live that Fox actually thinks me paying a living wage in my office is, quote, communism. So the next time the GOP screams socialist, know that's their go-to attack for any common sense, humane policy. And believe me, they will continue to scream socialist and communist because in reality, that's all they got left. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.